I'm Dave Westervelt. I'm the representative for Vita USA, which is a part of Vita Europe. We produce products that are normally organic or more safe for mite use or for beetle uses and treatments of beehives. So what we've got, our newest product out is VarroxSan, which is an oxalic acid continuous release strip. It lasts 42 to 56 days in the beehive. You don't have to go in and out of the beehive to replace it. Once you put the treatment in, it's for one strip for 2.5 frames of bees. It applies in. The bees will remove a little bit of it out, but they don't remove the whole strip. 56 days. You would want them probably at 30 days. Do a mite check to see using a mite checker, using a wash, or you can do the powdered sugar or carbon monoxide, however you like to do the test, and see if your mite levels are dropping down. We're getting right now around a 96 to 98% efficacy with this form of treatment. It's the newest oxalic acid. So this is not a flash treatment. The flash treatments are where you burn in the oxalic acid or wood bleach into the beehive. Problem with those are you're getting an initial blast. There's no residual after 2 to 3 hours. It's going out of the hive. Where with this, it's a continuous release, a slow dose release. The strips are at about 18.5%, and they release at a slow dose. If you're at, let's say, a 3% mite effect in your bees, you can go in there and drop them down to non-detectable or ones or twos easily. If you're at 7 or 8%, meaning you've got 7 mites per 100 bees, you will be able to clear them up down to 1, maybe a 2. You may even drop them down to 0 if they've done correctly. One nice thing with VarroxSan, it can be used during a honey flow or during time when supers are on. You can actually purchase these products. It's as of today was the actual day they've been delivered to the United States. They're in the Man Lake warehouse right now, so they're being distributed by Man Lake and some other supply chains, bee supply companies. So check with your supply company like Man Lake, Day, a couple of the other smaller ones too. This is fresh. As of today, we've fought with the EPA. It is registered right now in 47 states in the U.S. Right now, we're having California and New York are the two that are getting hard, but we hope to have them by, probably in the next week or two. The main problem you have with these is if you've got a weakened hive and you place them into the hive can't thermal regulate correctly. So you may get some moisture on the strips that we find that to be a little detrimental to the bees, but not enough that it's going to harm the hive. So that's like an over treatment. So you need to be careful during the summertime when the humidity is 100% in a small hive of bees. So the way to fight against that would be if it's, say you got 7 frames of bees, instead of putting 2 strips in, use 1 strip. The only other thing we've got also the bee gems, which are virtually what they do is they cause the bees to groom more. So with your bee gems, you can put them in the hive. You're not going to get rid of all your Varroa mites. It's a tool for integrated pest management along with Apiguard. If you're using Apiguard, which also drops some mites, it's a thymol product. So them along with using hygienic bees and other, non chemical products you can reduce. That's one other thing with VarroxSan. It's an organic treatment. Thymol treatment, normally you want to not use it during the honey flows. And it's more heat sensitive. So if you're at 90 degrees, 98 degrees, you probably want to cut the dose in half or even further. I also work with, I'm retired. I was the chief of apiary inspection. I'm sure some people remember me with Florida. Retirement's been good for me. I work with WSR insurance on crop insurance, so any commercial or sideline beekeepers that need crop insurance. And I also am still the education person for Florida State beekeepers.
If so, a person with your experience, yep, if you had 1 or maybe 2 top tips to give to a new beekeeper or any beekeeper for that matter, what would that be?
One thing is to make sure you're checking for your mite loads. Mites are probably the most detrimental problem that beekeepers have. The other thing is to go into your bees once a month. Make sure that they're healthy. A growing hive of bees will grow better than a hive that's got weak and try to build them back up. Normally, if they're getting weak, there's some pest or disease that's causing it, and it's hard for a young, new backyard beekeeper to find that out. And get to a good mentors, meaning 4 or 5 mentors. Don't just go find the oldest beekeeper out there like me and say, oh, he's my mentor. Get 2 or 3 mentors to compare things with and get 2 or 3 hives of bees. Don't start with one.
And the easiest way to find multiple mentors is probably
Join
join
a
your local
club.
bee club, right?
If not 2 or 3 of those, if you're like up in Tupelo area, go to Tupelo Beekeepers, Washington County, any of the ones up there.
Yeah.
You've got some great beekeeping clubs in the state of Florida.
So a lot of times, especially on social media and stuff, you'll hear people say, why test? I don't want to kill 300 bees. Why test? We know you've got mites anyway. Just treat.
That's just treating. The idea of why should I test for your mites using like an alcohol wash or using soapy water or windshield wiper solution. What you're doing is you're actually trying to figure out, do I need to use a product and what product should I use? If you're at a low mite level, you can use a fairly benign treatment, not a hard chemical. If you're at 9 or 10 mites per 100 bees, you're going to have to use a chemical that gives you a good knockdown, something like an animatraz product or some of the products that are out there that fluvalvinate, amatraz, all of those work very hard. They do a good job, but use them, get them out of the hive, and use them the way the label says. The other thing, when you're killing 300 or 400 bees, in a normal hive of bees, a good strong hive of bees, you're going to lose 800 bees a day, anyhow, on normal daily loss of geriatric bees, as I like to call it. And the other thing to do is don't be scared to ask a question. If you're a new beekeeper and you see something you don't understand, go onto the websites, go onto your mentors, asking somebody at your bee club, and see what's going on. And I hear all the time, well, I'm not going to feed my bees because they're eating sugar and I don't want them to eat sugar. They should be eating honey. Well, honey is a natural produced sugar anyhow. So by feeding them a sugar solution, you're keeping them from starving. As you being a beekeeper, part of your husbandry is to take care of those bees.
Correct, because bees are livestock.
They are livestock. Bees are definitely considered livestock.
To take care of our livestock.
And so, it's just like your dog, cat, chicken, or baby. If you got a young infant and you bring it home from the hospital, the first thing you're going to do is probably either your wife's going to give it breast milk or you're going to start nurturing that. That's the same thing with a small hive of bees or a new hive of bees or a nuke or whatever you buy. You're going to have to start raising that until with your kids till they're 18, 20 years old and decide they can defend for themselves. That's the same thing with a hive of bees. Even though it would be able to gather nectar as a small hive, if you're helping them out, they're going to grow better, they're going to be healthier, and they're going to excel. And there's a lot of people, they have this false belief that if you're going to feed your bees sugar water, you're going to cause those bees to be diabetic and become addicted to sugar water. That's a false sense. I mean, bees will feed on artificial nectar if you give it to them until the natural nectar comes in. At that time, they'll stop taking your sugar water and they're going to go gather regular nectar. And by doing that, that actually stimulates that hive in growing. They're bringing in nectar, water, pollen, propolis, all the 4 things they need. And that's a healthy hive. It's a functioning hive.
For example, a cattle farmer would never say, I'm not going to feed them any hay or pellet, because in the wild they didn't have hay and pellet. The ones that can't find their own food, just let them die.
Star. Yeah, I've heard exactly what you're saying about like cattle farmer where they never would refuse to feed their cows some sort of protein or hay. But with honeybees, you get this false hope. Oh yeah, if I don't feed them, they'll learn to defend on themselves. No, they're going to end up dying. And then all you have is an empty. That's what happens. Then the wax moths come in, and I hear all the time. If we're talking about wax moths, I hear all the time wax moths took my hive. I lost another hive to wax moths. Wax moths are the buzzards of the beekeeping industry. Wax moth never kills a hive out. It's always something else that makes that hive weak, and then the wax moths come in and destroy it. They're doing what they're made to do, which is consume the old beeswax comb. Get rid of those chemicals and that disease that's in there. And the real world, Europe, back before bees were in America, that wax moth was there, and that's what it'd do. It'd go into the old trees when the combs, the bees would abscond or die off. It would go in there and clean it out, and the next swarm of bees would come into it.